Hello, welcome to Microsoft Excel, Level 1, Video 5. Today we're going to take all the pieces that we've learned through videos 1 to 4 and put them together in this spreadsheet, which is a personal finance example. So across row 1, you can see that I've merged cells from A1 to F1, and we put a title there with bold font called Personal Finance. I've also then taken row 2, and we've put our basic kind of expenditures. Again, you can do a lot more. We wanted to keep it kind of simple to start with, as well as a totals column where we're going to do our math in. This one we've got bold on F2, and we've also added a blue background across the others. The rest of column A from A3 to A15 is our months of the year, and then at the very bottom, yearly totals. You'll notice that our yearly totals, which I'm circling right now, I've also made that a smaller font so that it would fit in. So if you remember back to video number 2, we talked about how we would adjust column width to best fit the text that we have in our labels. In this case, I chose to make the font smaller so that we didn't have to have the column too wide. I've given you some generic data for hydro, water, food, and autopack. So you can go ahead right now and pause the video so that you can create this spreadsheet. Now, if you don't remember all the steps that we went through in for videos for levels 1 through 4, don't worry, I'm going to recreate all of this with you shortly. But go ahead and pause the video right now and see if you can recreate as much of this as possible. Okay, welcome back. Let me run through how I made this spreadsheet with you, and then we're going to take a look at some of the math, and I'm going to show you some tricks today as well. So first off, whenever we create a spreadsheet from scratch, we usually start with identifying our labels and kind of the structure of how we want to do things. This example, I started right away with our first row across the top, which is row 1 right here. And I decided that I wanted to have a title across the top that would explain what the spreadsheet is for. So in this case, personal finance. So to start with, I clicked on cell A1. I held the left mouse button down and I pulled across and across and across and across and across. And then I hit the merge and center button. Now I decided that my spreadsheet was going to actually have from columns A to F in total. So I knew exactly how long to stretch across. This is part of the planning stages of designing your spreadsheet from scratch that you have to kind of decide on. You know, how many columns it's going to require, how many rows, and then from there you can build on. For a beginner, what I would recommend to do is grab a piece of scrap paper and maybe draw it out by hand. Being more traditional for people that are new to the digital world, sometimes it's better just to draw and write things on paper. It's more of what our comfort level is at in terms of trying to design these. So I knew that I was going to have these columns across the top up until F. So I highlighted all the way across those and hit merge and center. Next, I typed in personal finance. Now I put it in all caps just so that it would stand out a bit more as well. That's completely up to you to decide, you know, in terms of font, face, and style of how you'd want to type it in. Last step, I clicked the little drop-down arrow next to the paint bucket, where I am right now, and I chose just standard colors, yellow. So yellow looks just like a highlighter would. It was perfect for a title on this one. So when I hit that, I had my title across the top, and everything was merchant centered, and we know our spreadsheet now is for personal finance. Okay, next step is I decided that column A was going to be my months of the year. Now, here's the common mistake that everyone will make. They're going to click on cell A2, where I am right now, and they're going to type in January. The problem, and again, as beginners that we forget, is that actually row 2 across the side is going to be for our actual expenditures. It's not going to be for the months of the year. If we put January here, then it would say January, hydro, water, food, autopack totals. There would be no spot to actually enter the data for January. So remember, you always have to skip this cell. Now, normally I would paint that blue as well, or the blue-gray to match. I wanted to leave it white just for you so that you could see that it kind of stands out as being a bit odd, just so that you don't forget and actually add January in the first piece. So our first row below our titles, which is row 2, we would actually have to skip the first column And then we would add in our expenditures. Now, as I said previously, I've only given you 4 because I wanted to keep it small and simple for us to work on right now. A great example for you to work on after this video ends is make a realistic one for you. I threw random numbers down here, and I only threw 4 of the common things that you'd actually have expenditures for. In reality, on a monthly basis, we have tons and tons and tons of columns of things that we'd actually be spending money on. So it actually is a very good spreadsheet to help us work on those types of financial things for us in terms of planning our strategies and seeing where we spend most of our money. Okay, so here we go. I clicked on cell B2 and I just typed in hydro. I typed in water on C2. On D2, it was food, then AutoPack, and then finally totals. And if you notice the totals, I went all caps, and I also turned bold on because I wanted to stand out a little bit more. This column F is where we will do our math. Okay, now that that row is finished, I would then start on cell A3, and I typed in January, and I'll redo this one now with you, January. Okay, and I press enter. And remember, we do not type in February, March, April, May, and through the rest of the year. I go back and click once on January. I go to the bottom right-hand corner so that I get a solid black cross. Hold down your left mouse button, pull, 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 pull. And when you let go, it's going to give you all the months of the year. Okay, use the autocomplete features as much as possible. As a beginning Excel user, you will make some mistakes. You will forget at times to do it, but the more you can remember, the faster you can be at creating these spreadsheets. Down at the very bottom, I typed in yearly totals. Now, what I did is the default back on these other ones, if I click back on it for a second, you can see up over here, Calibri, size 12. So what I did is I actually clicked on row 15 and I typed in yearly totals in capital letters and it spilled way over into column B, no problem. After that, we can go back and change it. And what I found out was dropping it down to size 9 was enough for it to fit into column A. The font does look smaller, but by adding capital letters, it still is legible. You'll be okay. Alrighty, our next column over. Here's where we can speed things up. So hydro, we're on the budget system for hydro, we're gonna say, so we pay the same amount every month. The TIPS program, they call it. So what's really cool, I showed you how you can type in January and then drag down to autocomplete the rest of the year. This also works with numbers. So I can type in 130 here, and because it's the same amount every month, all I would do is grab the corner and slide back down like we did earlier and let go, and it will autocomplete numbers as well. So there's a first tip and trick past the versions that we talked about before. So earlier we worked on it with labels. It does work with numbers also. Now our water bill, most people pay their water bill every 3 months. So it's not an every month type of thing. Now what I wanted to point out with water and why I chose to use this column in your spreadsheet is because you do not leave these blank. So if you remember back to our math lesson earlier on, we talked about the fact that if you do not have the data, that you must enter a 0. By placing a 0, that is a significant digit in the computer world, which will allow us to use the auto sum later on. Okay, make sure you put zeros, don't just leave it as nothing. So we have a 215, and then I entered a 00 for the months that we do not pay, then a 200, and on and on. Food, sadly, these are a whole pile of different types of numbers because our food expenditures per month would vary. You have to type those in manually. AutoPack, same thing. It's $125 a month because you have the pay per month program, for example. We would type in 125, we would press enter, click back on the first one, go to the bottom right-hand corner with the solid black cross, hold the button down, left button, pull, 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 all the way to the bottom where it says December, let go, and it auto-completes 125 all the way down for you. Okay, so there is the basics of how to enter in our titles, the background colors again, and the data that we have in our spreadsheet. Now we're left with the math, right? The part that scares everyone. So hopefully you've had a chance to practice lessons 3 and 4. where we went through how to do basic adding. And then in the last video, the subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click at the bottom of our hydro, and we'll do the math on the first one. Now, because this is numbers all the way through, continuous numbers, there's no blanks or anything else, we can use our AutoSum function. So I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to slide the window down so I can get to it behind my video. And I'm going to hit the Greek E over here. So if you remember from the earlier video, we talked about the AutoSum button. I give it a tap, and I'll just slide this back up for you. And you can see the marching ants, as we call them, are around all of the months of the year. So January all the way to December is chosen. And it's automatically programmed the equals sum open bracket B3 colon B14 close bracket. So even though we've let the computer automatically do it and it's right all the time, we still want to visually check that. We talked a lot about this in our previous lesson on how to add in Excel. So I have blue writing down here, and I have a blue box around everything there. All of our data is chosen. We're good to go. I press the Enter key. And hydro costs us $1,560 for the year. Now, I could click on water, and remember we talked about adding those zeros in. Make sure every cell is filled with some data, right? Zero is significant. So everything is continuous. So I could hit the AutoSum button again, but here's your next tip and trick is because this is the same, we're adding this column, we're adding this column, we're adding this column, we're adding this column. Because it's all the same mathematical function over and over again, we can actually drag the equation across and it will automatically apply the same mathematical calculations from hydro to the water column, the food column, and our AutoPack column. These are the wonderful features of Excel. Once you get past kind of the basic comfort level, you can do so many neat things. Here we go. Watch. I'm going to click once on hydro. I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner to get the solid black cross. Hold your left mouse button down, and now pull across, across, and across. And what that does is tell Excel to automatically apply the same math from column B to C, D, and E. Let go, and we're done. Magic. I've now told the program to automatically do what we did in column B, which was add up everything, to then add up all the water, add up all the food, and add up all the AutoPack, and give us our answers on the very bottom. Okay, that quickly we can apply the same math across. Wonderful features of Excel. Makes life so quick for us. So there's our yearly totals. In a year, we spent $1,560 on hydro, $810 on water, $3115 on food, and $1,500 on AutoPack. Okay, if this doesn't quite make sense for you, pause the video now, or you can pause and rewind the video and watch this section one more time. Okay, next is this total column along this side. What we're looking for here is how much did we spend in January and every other month on our bills. So we're looking at basically the same thing. We're going to add up all of our bills, but instead of being yearly totals, we're just looking at monthly totals. So I'm going to click on the cell over here. We're going to do things a little bit different this time. Let's manually type in that sum function because there are times where we can't use the AutoSum. So it's good to actually practice this method as well. So here we go. I'm going to go equals SUM, shift, and 9 to open a bracket. Let go of the shift key. I'm going to take my mouse, and with the white cross on hydro, I'm going to hold down the left button, pull, pull, pull sideways now to highlight hydro, water, food, and AutoPack. Let go. And again, before I close everything and press enter, I just want to confirm B3 to E3. Hydro is B3, water C3, food D3, E3 is AutoPack. So we have all of our expenditures together. Shift, 0, closes our bracket for us. Press enter, and there's our answer. In January, we had 715 of bills. Same thing that we did across the bottom, we're going to do again. So here's our tip and trick. Click once on January. Go to the bottom right-hand corner of that cell so that we get a solid black cross. Hold the mouse button down. Pull, 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 pull all the way down. And we fill in all of our months of the year to December on how much each month we spent on bills. Now I stopped, there's one more box below that one where we get our grand totals. So over the course of yearly totals and our monthly totals, how much in a year did we spend on everything all together? Now I stopped on purpose because sometimes you accidentally stop, or sometimes you need to actually stretch it even further. You can do that, right? So it's not that I have to start over because I didn't drag far enough over here. It's very easy. I could put my mouse on the bottom right-hand corner again at any time. Hold the left mouse button down and pull once more and let go. And there we go, 6,985 on all of our expenditures for an entire year. So last step in our spreadsheet then is these numbers are just numbers. They're supposed to be currency, right? We're talking about dollars of expenditure. So I have a few choices in terms of highlighting my spreadsheet. We talked earlier in the series about holding the mouse button down and pulling across to highlight certain sections of cells. We could do that, but we may want to add other pieces in later. So in future videos, we'll talk about inserting extra rows or columns or those kind of things that we can do also. But if I wanted to add more at this point, I want to make sure that everything else in this entire spreadsheet is formatted for currency. Okay, so if you remember earlier in video 1, we talked about how each book should be a spreadsheet that's designed for a specific feature only. Don't make multiple sheets. Each sheet should be its own book. So for this one, we're going to talk about it being personal finance. Everything is in terms of dollars. So I'm going to head over here and actually, I'm just going to slide this over a little bit. Above row 1 and to the left of column A, we have an option that we can select the entire spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Everything turns gray on the entire spreadsheet. Now the reason I'm doing this is because this spreadsheet is entirely going to be currency. So we're going to format the whole page to be money. So once I've got it all selected, I'm just going to slide my mouse over here to the cell formatting section, and there's a dollar sign. I'm going to give that a click, and everything now converts over to currency. Here's our personal finance example. I highly encourage you to do this several times. Delete it, start it over again. Run through the video a few times until you're comfortable with using things like the auto sum, the color backgrounds, merging and centering cells, highlighting everything and converting it to currency, auto filling. Once we have, for example, our hydro column, where we auto sum that one, and then we dragged and slid it across to apply the formatting of the mathematical calculation to the water, food, autopack, and totals. Work on those basic features. These are really, really critical features for you to know. Thanks for watching. That's the end of level 1.